Apparently, OpenAI hits $10 billion in recurring revenue. In annual recurring revenue. Somebody the other day said, AI hasn't figured out how to be profitable. This is just a trend. Man, get your ass out of here.
Dichotomy here. Kate Rooney with the details. Kate, what's happening?
Kelly, that's right. So we are getting some new revenue metrics from OpenAI. These have not been reported yet. The AI company just hit $10 billion in annual recurring revenue, also known as ARR. This is according to an OpenAI spokesperson. It does come just 2.5 years since its AI chatbot, ChatGPT, hit the market. And a source separately telling me that revenue, think about last year, it was $5.5 billion at the end of 2024, so roughly doubling. But right now we are, of course, only halfway through the year with that 10 billion number. The key sales driver, according to the spokesperson, is ChatGPT. Spokesperson also saying and confirming that the chatbot topped 500 million weekly active users at the end of March. So these new revenue figures do bake in sales from that consumer business and API, but they do exclude Microsoft and the licensing revenue and then one-off mega deals like SoftBank pretty recently. It does also give some context to this company's monster $300 billion valuation in private markets. It's about 30 times revenue, which does underline a lot of the growth expectations from investors like SoftBank and Microsoft out there. I'm told from a separate source that in the next 4 years, OpenAI is going to be aiming to hit $125 billion in revenue. It also aims to be cash flow positive at that point. In the meantime, this company is also spending a bulk of what's coming in. It's not profitable yet. I have heard from sources that the company saw $5 billion in losses last year. No comment from OpenAI.
Right, so it makes $10 billion, it loses 15, but still getting to $10 billion. I mean, how long has it been around? Two, you know what I mean? Since the product launch, just a couple of years. Right. That's an around.
What a stupid thing! What a stupid thing to point out. It's a growth company. Of course, it's going to burn more money than it takes home. You're buying this company for what it's going to do 5 years from now. No one wants them to stop doing R&D. We don't need OpenAI to be profitable.
$1 billion in losses last year. No comment from OpenAI.
Right, so it makes 10 billion, it loses 15, but still getting to 10 billion. I mean,
because nobody needs to make a comment on that. Only CNBC is worried about that.
How long has it been around? You know what I mean? Since the product launch, just a couple of years. Right. That's an incredibly fast time period in which to hit $10 billion in annual revenues.
It's a great point, Kelly. I mean, it was started sort of as a research lab. So it was around for about a decade working on this before the consumer product launched. But ChatGPT has been around for 2.5 years. We were looking at some of the other kind of high watermarks of what it took to get to $10 billion in revenue. It took Microsoft something like 2 decades. Meta was around, it was like 8 years or a decade. So, I mean, this type of growth is unprecedented. I will say they're sort of standing on the shoulders of giants here. If the iPhone didn't exist, ChatGPT wouldn't be so easy to access. They've got the cloud that's also one of these tailwinds, but it's eye-popping. And then we've also reported that Anthropic is closer to $3 billion in revenue. So the fact that these are essentially startups, they've only been on the market for a couple of years, and they're notching $10 billion in revenue really marks sort of this new AI paradigm we're in and the growth expectations.
It's incredible, and it goes back to NVIDIA and how quickly it ramped up. NVIDIA now rivals Apple in size, right? And that, like Santoli was saying, Apple was 5 times its size a few years ago. So we have this announcement, this big worldwide developers conference, Kate, where everyone's trying to say to Apple, all right, what do you have to show us? And I know sometimes they say, they should just buy OpenAI or ChatGPT. I mean, $300 billion, even for a company of Apple's size. Whether regulators would ever let that happen or they would have any interest. But the growth that we're seeing here for this product, $20 a month, I and many, many others pay for it. And I love it. I'm totally hooked.
Yeah, they need to buy that shit, bro. Like Nike writing their last $1 million check to Michael Jordan. They need to write that $300 billion check to OpenAI right now. How much cash does Apple currently have? Don't they have a bunch of cash? Don't they have a bunch of cash here? Let's see. They have $65 billion in cash. Yeah, they need to figure it out. But they make $100 billion in free cash flow every year. $100 billion in free cash flow every year. They need to buy it.